So the way that this song, sure, arose out of this tuning, I spent quite a bit of time just frankly noodling and playing and sort of geeking out on the tuning when I first started using it. I learned this tuning from my pal David Goodrich. And one day, something pretty much exactly like this arose. And that stuck with me, and I found myself wanting to play it. Frankly, it became good enough that I didn't even need to write it down, if that makes sense. It became entertaining to me. And I just would play it over and over and over, much to the chagrin of my roommates. And, you know, reverse engineering it, I think I know why it's so pleasing. If you take away a lot of the flowery stuff, take away and just break it down to its brute elements, what's going on here employs something that the composers call contrary motion. So you got So what you have is just that figure over the one chord, over the D. And then it repeats itself, but the background chord changes to the 6 minor, the B minor. So it's and then the figure repeats for a third time. And the background chord changes again to the 4 chord, in this case the G. And magic of magics. And so what's happening here is our sort of our limbic brain, our sort of primate brain that is just entertained by primary colors and fancy shapes, essentially is watching something in the foreground just repeat itself, while something in the background keeps moving position. And so you have the foreground holding still and the background moving. And I think that there's just something in our little lizard brain, our little primate brain that goes, I am entertained by this. I like this. It's the same, yet somehow it's different. And then, you know, you add all of the sort of flowery stuff, and you get... And that, I feel like that's the real surprise moment, because the thing in the foreground has been unchanging, and then suddenly, instead of going it goes and we're entertained. I mean, in the end, everybody likes good. In the end, everybody likes great, but entertaining. And then it resolves back to the one chord and the initial figure. So we get this sense of having gone somewhere and discovered new things, and then returning to a feeling of home. And so once I had something like this, I had this initial guitar figure, the next step in my process often, and certainly in this case, was to just drive this nail into the board for months. Just, you know, just play this thing. Over time, I've realized that when I have something that just bears that much repeating, I've learned to just be patient and allow myself to sort of flog this thing into the ground. Because what's happening is that sub rosa, underneath, you are building up to the first moment of iteration on your initial figure. And that is usually for me a vocal melody, which leads us to the next little bit, which is how one thing arises out of another.